topping it off, looking for some much-needed guidance and advice. My wife and I have been married for almost 3 years now. We started out as friends in college and after about a year began dating. We dated for about 4 years before we got married. About a year before we graduated college, we began to really talk about how serious we were. My wife had been in some serious relationships in the past, but this was really my first truly serious one. She was worried that I didn't know exactly what I wanted and thought it would be a good idea for us to take some time for me to kinda date around before we got even more serious, wedding talks. I reluctantly agreed, understanding there was some usefulness in doing this. We took a break for about 2 months, which consisted of me giving a pretty half attempt at flirting with a girl I knew at the time. My wife and I still spoke regularly and I just couldn't bear the thought of dating anyone else. I was just too in love with her. So, we ended up getting back together and were happy as can be. A couple of months pass by and we get to talking about stuff and somehow the fact comes out that during our break apart from each other, which was supposedly in place for me to see if anyone else was out there or if I knew she was the one for me, it comes to light that she kissed somebody else. Now, it doesn't just stop there. What basically happened is that during our break, she decided to take a trip to visit her friend that lived near a school that we had both transferred from about a year earlier. She had a professor that she was particularly fond of and decided to visit him in his office while she was in town. According to her words, which I believe, he came onto her and kissed her right there in his office. After she told me this, I was pretty pissed off. It just sounded kind of messed up. I guess they had started talking with each other on the phone after that incident in his office. A couple of weeks later, she told me that she was going down to the same town where her friend lived to house sit for someone. I guess she began to feel guilty because right before she left, she confessed that she actually had lied and was planning on going down to meet up with him for the week. Draw your own conclusions. Now, I got really mad and wanted to know what the hell she was thinking. She sobbed profusely and was genuinely upset and remorseful, saying that she decided not to do it and that she was so sorry she had lied about it. I told her I wanted all of the details on the table and she answered all of the questions. Nothing happened between them besides that kiss and phone conversations. So, after going through this melodrama, I decided to just push past it. I was really glad she decided to tell me and not actually go through with anything. If she had, that would have been devastating to me. Fast forward a bit and we have been married for 3 years. We have a really fantastic relationship. Now, I know everyone says that, but we really did. We knew each other better than anyone else on this earth. We traveled abroad together, read together, cuddled, spent plenty of time with each other's families. We had some intimacy issues in our marriage due to things that I had been through in the past, but she was so great about understanding it. We had both had some pretty heavy stuff happen to us before, but that's one of the things that made our relationship so great, complete disclosure and support from one another. She was someone who had been depressed since I had known her, but I knew that I made her happy and she knew she made me happy. After a couple of years of marriage, she still had the same complaints about feeling down sometimes, and that she hated her job, etc. I was there for her every time to lift her up and do whatever was humanly possible to put a smile on her face and tell her it would be okay. Things were really falling into place for us. I got promoted and we moved out of state. Both of us love kids and really dreamed of having a big family. We decided to start to try for a baby. After a couple of months, we were ecstatic to find out she was pregnant. We were going to be parents. It was all so blissful. Reaching the end of the first trimester, we decided to go in and have our first checkup and hear the baby's heartbeat. I made sure to take my camera with me even though I looked like a goof she wasn't even showing yet. I didn't care because I was going to be a dad. We went in to see the nurse and she had trouble getting a heartbeat on the baby with the instrument she was using. She decided to send us over to get a sonogram. We switched rooms and my wife laid back on the table, prepared to get the first look at our baby. We then got some devastating news. There was no blood flowing to the baby and we had actually lost it some weeks before. Devastated. That is the only word I can describe how we felt. My wife and decided, with the suggestion of the nurse, that it would be best to do an evacuation of the fetus at the hospital. Needless to say, this was a very tough time. My wife was getting the procedure and I was the one calling around to tell our family and friends the sad news. This one just wasn't meant to be, that was what we kept telling ourselves. We would just try again in a couple of months. A few days pass and my wife and I are headed to the store. We reach the parking lot and she begins to talk about how down she was. I tell her that we can move beyond this and that she has to start being more positive about herself and thankful for all the good things we have. I am very sensitive to the fact that she just lost our baby days before, but I also say that tomorrow is a new day and we really need to move on. After talking for about 30 minutes, we finally decided to walk inside the store, hand in hand and ready to take on the world together. This is where crap really starts to get crazy. The next day I am at work and she is at home. She had worked for a company from our hometown for a couple of years before we moved and then they let her continue her job out of state using a home office. She texted me, saying that I needed to come home and that she needed me. This didn't particularly concern me because she had been feeling down, off and on since I could remember. When I get home, she is in complete tears and just embraces me. I hug her back and try to console her and ask her what is wrong. She tells me that she had not been working at all that day. She had just been trying to put together a letter that she had typed for me. She urged me to read it as she wept uncontrollably. I begin to read the letter. She tells me that she had had an affair with her boss for 2 years. What? It began a couple of months before we were married. We were engaged, on a business trip. Her boss was drunk and he kissed her. She was shocked and pushed him away. In subsequent business trips he continued to pursue her, to which she told him that she was going to marry me and that she loved me. I guess he eventually won out because over the course of the 2-year affair, they had slept together at least 15 times. Not only this, but they also said they loved each other. She told me that she didn't mean it and it was like she was not there when she said it to him. After 2 years she realized just how wrong what she was doing was. She began to see a counselor on her own. At the time I just thought it was because she was depressed. She was then able to end the relationship with him on her own, which she said was easy once the help she had gotten from her therapist sank in and she realized what she was doing. The affair ended January 2012 and I found out about this whole thing January 2013. I was furious and hurt to say the least. So many mixed emotions. I immediately told her to pack her crap up and go to her parents' house, about 4 hours away. She has been gone now for close to a month. It has been really hard for me. It really is like a roller coaster. I go from angry to sad to hopeful to ready to move on with my life without her. There were just so many gritty details that came up in my later conversations with her. I found out they didn't use protection outside of her birth control. Her boss is married with 2 kids. Before we moved, while she was at her work, she would take lunch breaks where her and her boss would check into a hotel. These are just some of the horrible things that have come to light. BTW, I called her boss to let him know what I thought about him and called his wife to give her a heads up. To her credit, it was her sole decision to confess these things to me. She tells me she will answer any and all questions I have truthfully, which she has. She has completely fallen apart and is torn with grief over what she did. She cut off all ties with her boss, quitting the job. She continues to call and text me telling how sorry she is and that she still wasn't healed from the things she went through in her past, but that now, after counseling, she was a new person and had finally confronted all of her problems with great success, taking control of her life. I don't doubt her transformation in all of this. I know she is truly, deeply sorry and I really know that she has a tremendous amount of love for me. This has just been so messed up. I feel like I just don't want anything to do with her. My parents and I packed all of her stuff up and put it in the garage until her parents come and get it. I would like to move on with my life and find somebody who would never do that to me. My wife tells me that this was a horrible thing to have done to us and our families and that with time we can get through it. She says she is willing to do anything I want in order to show me she is sorry and prove that she can be this new person. She wants us to go to marriage counseling or, if I prefer, speak with someone on my own to help me get through this. It has just been so tough because my gut tells me to get out of this marriage as soon as I can, but I also feel a pang of guilt like I haven't done everything I could to make this work. But how do you make this work? It just blows my mind. All of it does. I mean, I had no idea, not even a sneaking suspicion. It was a complete blind side. To make matters even more confusing, after we had moved from our home state and the relationship she was having ended, she started looking for other work. She got an offer from the same company, same boss, aka the owner, to be able to work from home. She accepted the job, knowing that 4 times out of the year it would require her to go on work trips where this person would definitely be present and put herself in the same situation as when the whole relationship began. What kind of a person thinks DOES these things? She said that she did it because she knew she had ended the relationship and that, to get some sort of payback, she would be taking money from this person in the form of a paycheck. That sounds so loony to me it's not even funny. So, here I am in the middle of this crap storm with no umbrella. Everyone I talk to says get the hell out and move on, and I agree. But I also have the thoughts of how great our relationship was, how amazing our families got along, our aligned goals for the future and love for each other. I also have her texts, calls about how utterly sorry she was that she was capable of doing that to me and how she so wishes she could take it back. It's the most dramatic situation that I couldn't even dream up. At this point, she wants me to give it more time before I decide to get a divorce. She tells me that she will be dead inside if I end it, saying how could you throw it all away, think of our memories. You know who the true me was, how I loved you, it was all real. We can still be happy together forever. I'm willing to show and prove it to you. I told her this, if you put an X to a man's head and pull the trigger, you X that man. He is right there on the ground. You can be as sorry and remorseful as you want, but that man is still there, dead. You have to pay for what you did. And that is how I feel, like my hands are tied behind my back. I tell her I wish she would have just told me when he tried to kiss her or after the first time. She was unfaithful. But for 2 years. Another small fact, there was a girl she worked with in the same office before we moved. The same boss came on to this girl at an event out of town. She told her husband, and after they both physically went to her work and talked with her boss, she left the company. She is still married to her husband and works at a different company now. Why couldn't that have been our scenario? My wife's mind was weak and she was vulnerable to this scumbag's advances. I am just broken over this whole mess. Just as a clarifying point, I brought up the relationship she had in the past with her former professor as an example of the grace I had given her in the past, something that she is asking for now. That was a hurtful decision that she made in which she said she would never do again. I think she meant that after going through her counseling, she was able to work through mistakes she had made in the past as well as confront this current mistake and see the flaw in her decision-making process. The word grace was actually one that she used to describe me forgiving her. Believe me, I'm not that kind of guy. I would not want to cause her any pain whatsoever, just going through some of the ups and downs of finding something like this out. As time goes on, I just can't see any solution outside of divorce. In some ways I am glad there are so many nasty truths that I found out because it makes this next step easier for me. There are glimmers of light in this dark situation, not having a child, finding out early in the marriage, becoming closer with friends and family. I will pick myself up from this and move forward with life. I know there is someone out there who will treat me with respect and I'm not about to settle. My comment: it's tough to close the door on someone you love. You will hurt and you will just have to muddle your way through it. There is no easy way to let someone who has wronged you go. You have to just cut her off, bluntly. Story 2. This is a long story. I hope some of you have the time and patience to read it. I think I have hit the low point of my life. I sometimes think I just want to go to sleep and never wake up and re-enter this nightmare that my sham of a marriage has become. Where should I start? STBX and I together 10 years, married 8. 2 kids, 6-year-old and 8-year-old, and a daughter who he brought into the marriage who is now 24, was 13 to 14 when I came onto the scene. We had been having problems for a couple of years before we separated in July of this year. The crunch point being that I finally got concrete proof of his last affair, one of so many, I now discover, and couldn't deal with any more of his lies. We have property in joint names where we were living. His business is in the same building, and so when it came for the decision who would move, I did, with the reasoning that he would be more or less in my house every day if I stayed and he went, which wouldn't give us the space we needed. Looking back on it with all I know now, stupid idea, but I'll get onto that later. So, we are splitting the kids 50-50 because we are both self-employed and work full-time. I work nights and days. They are at my place from Sunday till Wednesday and the weekend. When I work, they are with him. About 8 weeks ago was our wedding anniversary. I texted him on that day. I was feeling really sad and I just wrote happy anniversary. What a shame, we almost made it. His response was that he saw this as a timeout and not a permanent thing. We still had a chance if we gave each other space. So anyway, about 3 weeks ago I heard the rumor around town that he had a new girl. I thought, oh God, no, not again. I honestly thought he was going to tell me about it, but of course he didn't, and I more or less just walked in on her having a get-together a couple of days later with her friends in my old house while he wasn't even there. Wow, I thought, she's obviously very at home here. The next day my daughter, the younger one, told me that when she goes to sleep in the big bed with daddy that there's almost not enough room anymore because the O and her daughter are also in the big bed. What the hell? At the same time I am heard from our mutual friends that he has told them he is in love and he has never been so happy and blah blah blah. I totally dropped my basket. After pulling myself together and putting my feelings aside, after all, he has a right to a new relationship even if I don't like it. I told him though that it wasn't acceptable the children to have that living situation happening so soon. He agreed that she would only stay over when the kids weren't there. Fair, I think. Anyway, since then he has not held his word at all. She has been camped out there, with her daughter, every day and night since. My kids are still asking me when I am going to come home again. Why we can't be a family anymore. Why is she there all the time? Why do we have to share our things with her daughter? And telling me that they don't like it. To him they say none of this. When I have tried to reason with him he just says it is none of my business and that they were fine with it. I am just allowing them to get carried away and the situation to escalate. I was there the other day to drop off the kids and her daughter came running with something to give him yelling daddy. I was like, oh, what did I just hear right? And his response was, I can't help it if she calls me that. Sorry, but I think there's some strange crap going down in that house. The next day when I saw my daughter again she asked me why the girl calls her daddy daddy when he's not her daddy. I just didn't know what to say. So, I kind of just changed the subject with tears in my eyes. I am so damn stuck. He is being so unreasonable, so blinded and just so wrong about this. I am so worried for our kids, but he is trying to make me out to be the crazy and irrational one, and I am somehow buying it. What the hell? I honestly think I am going to go out of my mind. If I financially could, I would quit my business and just get my kids the hell out of there, but then they don't have a dad at all and I wonder if that's worse or not. I am so confused by it all. I have a constant pain in my chest and headaches that last for days. I am swinging between I hate him and I would do anything to turn back the clock to how it was 5 years ago. When wills this end? I'm sorry if I am ranting. They'll stop now. I guess this is a cry for help. Will it get easier? Will I ever feel like I am living again? Yes, I know that I can't stop the little girl from saying that to him. It kind of just made it clear to me that there's some seriously dysfunctional coming from the GF side too. Not my problem. Even if it makes me want to puke. Yes, I am getting therapy, have a super psychiatrist who I also talk to about the kids. I have decided that the only thing I can do is be the best kind of mother I can. If my ex wants to do things his way, then he is going to have to live with it in the long run. The kids adore him, and I would never be the one to break that bond unless there were serious behavioral issues presenting themselves. At the moment it's just confusion and tears that I can handle by being my kind of parent. He may have been a low-down lousy kind of husband, but he has always been a great dad. Makes it even more astonishing to me that he can be handling so illogically, hence I think he may just have lost his mind. Maybe only temporarily though. I would like to be able to forgive everything, but I am still stuck getting past the hurt and, unfortunately, hate. I keep seeing pictures all over Facebook of him and his new girlfriend, and it's making me nuts. I guess even though we fought like cat and dog, and even with everything that's happened, part of me still loves him enough to get jealous. I am on that crappy merry-go-round of asking what is so much better about her than me. What can she do that I couldn't? Sinking in self-doubt and letting every insecurity I have ever had come to the fore. Then the circle turns and I get angry that he just cast me aside. After 10 years of hard work, having his children and trying to do whatever he wanted to make him happy and everything we built up together. I don't know what feels worse, the hurting part and the self-doubt, or the ball of hate that rises up in my throat after I'm done with the first part of the cycle that honestly feels like it's going to choke me. They're probably both not healthy. I have realized a lot of patterns in our relationship that probably led to our demise. A lot of mistakes that I made with not only him but in all my previous relationships also. Trying to learn from them this time so that I don't make those same mistakes again if I ever have another relationship. And I doubt it at this point. I am too damaged, is definitely my goal. I guess I'll just have to wait and see. I am coming to realize that now. He is playing out his midlife crisis in front of the whole damn town. I was thinking that I was kind of embarrassed for him, unsure if I was being irrational about that because I was jealous or whatever. Last night I saw a friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours who has known him for twice as long as I have, and she told me that her husband saw him at a party on the weekend with his new girl. All she said was that her husband came home and said that he prayed to God that he would never start to act so embarrassingly in public at his age. Nice to know that even people who are totally impartial are thinking the same way. I just heard for the third time from a third person in a week that my ex-idiot can now only be referred to as such, is showing dirty pictures of his new GF all over town. I am sick to the stomach. Embarrassed for him, absolutely embarrassed for her, and thinking that the man has most definitely lost his mind. Update. It's a year gone now. I can't quite believe it has been that long. Sometimes I feel happy again, and I am truly thankful for a lot of the things I have in my life, but there are of course still times when I feel all that hurt like it was just yesterday. I am slowly getting it together divorce-wise. We have reached an agreement on how to spill assets and such. Now it's just a matter of getting it signed and delivered to the courts. I feel like at some point I might get over all of this. Hope is on the horizon. I can see it from here. My comment: OP made it out okay. Like I have said before, things take time. Story 3. My wife and I just separated after 19 years of marriage and 4 children, 16, 15, 12, 10. I was unfaithful close to 4 years ago and I take 100% of the blame. My wife forgave me and we tried to move forward. My wife never told her close friends or any of her family, so basically, she kept this all inside to herself. I agreed to move out 3 years ago but came down with meningitis. This took over 6 months to recover, plus I was having a hard time just walking out on the kids. This April my mother was diagnosed with cancer and dies in April. 2 weeks later my brother and his wife are still suing me and my sisters over her estate. Never got a chance to grieve my mother. I moved out on June 1st on the premonition we would give separation 6 months, revisit the marriage. Once I got out my wife started treating me horrible. I have admitted my mistakes over and over. Whenever we talk, she keeps throwing my mistakes in my face. I have since sought counseling and have become a much better man. She has not sought any help in the time I was unfaithful. We split weekends with the kids. I go over and clean the house, vacuum, fold laundry, clean the pool, anything I can do to help around. I since have found out she has been seeing someone else while I am at the house with the kids. She is out with her new friend. I know I have hurt her and feel horrible over this. I want to make things better and treat her like a queen going forward. She came to one of my sessions and told my counselor that she's not involved with anyone. That's the last thing she needs. I had the kids this weekend and on Friday never got a call the whole weekend to say where she was staying. I just want some respect in case something happens to me or any of the kids. She told me she texted the kids. I said I am the parent here. I need to know. She has said many times if you got out 4 years ago things might be different. I say to myself, if you were that unhappy, why didn't you get out? I still give her my full paycheck to pay bills and try to keep the peace. I am not one to snoop, but Sunday when she came home I had it in my gut something was up this weekend. I looked in her overnight bag and found a rose, which was devastating to me. I confronted her and told her I'm not coming over here every 2 weeks with the kids while she's out doing whatever with her new friend. I have to pry it out of her to get any info, and now I can't trust anything she says. She lied to me and the counselor right to our faces. I feel so bad for the kids. I did screw up and no one wants to make this work more than me. I know going forward I will treat her with the respect, trust and honesty she deserves, but she won't let me back in and she wants to file. I think the reason she wanted me out so soon was so she could continue this thing she has with this other person. I am truly hurt and devastated by her recent actions. I don't know what to do. I am still seeing my counselor and I know he will tell me what I don't want to hear. It's time to let her go. The last 4 years have not been horrible, but it's amazing once I got out. She treats me like I am an outcast. My comment: look friend, there are things each of us would like to change, but sometimes we have to accept the consequences of our action and accept forgiveness as the best we will get from those we hurt. I think you know what you have to do and you are hoping someone here will tell you something different. File the papers, settle your financial situation, make sure your kids are the focus of your energy and move forward to your new life without your wife.